Welcome to Finding Your Identity in Your Autism Journey, the podcast where we explore complexities, breakthroughs, and unfiltered realities of the lives as touched by autism. I'm your host, Ruth Cassell, here to guide you through heartfelt stories, expert insights, and empowering conversations. Whether you're a parent or a sibling, an educator, or an advocate, this is your space to find community, ask the hard questions, and uncover new possibilities. Let's dive in. Welcome to Finding Your Identity in Your Autism Journey. I'm your host, Ruth Cassell, and today's episode is one that I know many of you will relate to. If you are feeling, exhausted, overwhelmed, or running on empty as a caregiver or a parent, conversation is for you. Our guest today is Santana Arroyo. She is an author of West Quest, a book that dives deep into the power of rest, renewal, and sustainability for caregiving. Linda is an expert in, rest and finding that rest. And Linda, she's a special needs parent as well. And she's been a teacher for over 30 years. She's retired from that, but she can give us insight of being an expert of rest. And today's episode, we're going to share more about her personal journey, get insights from her book and practical strategies to help us find a balance in the midst of caregiving daily life, the demands that's put on us daily. If you remember from episode 2, Finding Your Balance, which I'm going to put in the show notes as well, this is why this is so critical for our parents, our caregivers, is finding these strategies to help us. We're going to be talking about why rest is more than just sleep, how to break free from burnout of yourself, and it isn't selfish. It is necessary, so grab your favorite drink, take a deep breath, and let's dive in to this conversation with Linda. I want to give a big welcome for having Linda here on the show today. Thank you, Linda, for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes. So I wanted to, really pick your brain because I read the book and it's very helpful. And I'm going to be putting it in the show notes too for you guys so you guys can get your own copy for Linda's book. What inspired you to write the book? And what was the key theme overall for the book?
Well, the key theme overall is rest. And that's what inspired me because that's what I was searching for. The title of the book is Rest Quest. Mm-hmm. And we know a quest is a search. It's looking for something, trying to grab hold of something. And as parents, as caregivers, we're always searching to find the best for our loved ones. And I needed to come to a point where I needed rest. And my favorite definition of rest is breathing space. I needed to find a space daily in my day to replenish and renew my strength. And that's what inspired me to write this book. Because this is a tool that I wish I had been handed when I started my own personal journey. My journey of that I love to call my just love journey. My just love journey of caring for my daughter. And I find it to be a valuable tool that I wanted to share this message with others.
I absolutely love that. And I can't agree more because it does, when you put the practical tips that we're going to be talking about throughout the episode, you're definitely going to be able to understand. And when you get the book and you read it yourself, you're going to be able to find those restful moments in your day-to-day because they are great practical tips. I know, you got to recharge yourself. You got to recharge your battery. And this is why, I told you guys in the beginning on the second episode that we really have to take care of ourselves. And I think Linda definitely being the rest, expert here. Why is rest and renewal so crucial? And especially for caregivers and parents out there, why is it such a thing that we should focus on?
I believe the number one priority of focusing on rest and renewal is our strength, because there's somebody else or some others that are depending on our strength. It's not only our physical strength that we're able to get up and manage and take care of them. It's our mental strength, our capacity to make decisions when we need to, our emotional strength when we get a phone call that's overwhelming. How are we going to handle that to make the best choices? It's even renewing our hearts and our spirits. So it's important because others depend on our strength. We might not wake up every day and say, hey, they're depending on my strength. We may think they're depending on us to prepare a meal or to take them to the doctor or other decision-making moments, but they're depending on our strength.
I think that's very well said, and I also think sometimes it's not even about our children or the person that we're caring for. It's about others that's in our world. So sometimes, we have more than one sibling. I don't have any other children yet, but, you've got your spouse, you've got work,
Absolutely. It's more than one role. Many caregivers, statistics state that 1 out of 5 caregivers has a job outside of the home.
Yes.
So we're on call 24/7. Yeah. We're on duty. So we're expending a lot of our strength in many areas that sometimes we don't even realize. We deplete and drain our emotional reserves, our mental reserves, and even our relational reserves. And that's taken away from that one core strength.
Yes, that's very well said. And I felt like, reading your book has definitely helped me, recharge. Because you got to recharge yourself because, like Linda said, you're no good to nobody, actually, if you don't recharge yourself.
And see, and when you mention that keyword recharge, we're so quick to go recharge our cell phone.
Yes.
Or our computer. We're running, we're scrambling. We'll even talk to a stranger when we're out at a doctor's appointment. If we see they have a cord that's compatible to our phone, because we're so mindful, we don't want that to be drained. But then do we think that same way about ourselves?
Yeah, and I think sometimes we don't. We always put ourselves on the back burner, and this is why I'm saying we can't. We can't afford to. And as Linda's book is embodying, we can't afford to do that because we're good to nobody if we're dead, just like your cell phone.
Yes.
Right?
If we're running on 6%, and many days, that's not 6% at 10 p.m. That's 6% at 10 a.m., just starting the day.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So you got to refill your tank. So, writing the book, really it led you because you were on that quest for rest, right?
Yes.
Let me ask you, how did your personal experience shape the book's message overall?
My personal experience as a mom, a wife, a school teacher, a caregiver, shaped the entire book, because with my many roles and responsibilities in all those areas, I became drained and depleted, exhausted. It was beyond being tired. It was a deep down to my core exhaustion. And I was able to get stories and situations that had happened to me, because I love to journal and I find that very therapeutic. But many of the things that were happening in my home were reflective of how I wasn't resting, how I was handling situations. And I weave my story in the book so the reader could relate. We're all going through our own personal trials, struggles, but there's joys in there too. And there's moments that we can find to renew and replenish our strength. So Rest Quest comes from a personal place. It comes from the place of a mother seeking to renew her strength, to not be diminished in my capacity to be my best and do my best for the good of my daughter, for the good of my family, and for myself, that I used to always put last.
And I love that you bring that up, because we do put ourselves last. And, I know because I've read the book, it is, very replenishing, but the replenishment comes from the Heavenly Father.
Yes, absolutely. And the book all points to him because he promotes it. He encourages rest. After all, he created it.
Yes.
And if we look at the Lord's commandments and we understand that he is all about rest. He's all about renewal. He even modeled it himself.
Mm-hmm. He did.
Yes.
Yes. And I think, a lot, for me, I always relied in my faith to be able to, like go the extra mile, go more, push more, do things. And I know I would just, leave it with him. And that would give me rest. But going through Linda's book definitely helped, like define that more, how to rely on him to rest more in him, if that makes sense.
Yes. And sometimes we think resting more in him is solely prayer time,
right,
or going to church. But he wants us to live life through a perspective of rest.
Yes.
So what does that mean? He said, love thy neighbor as thyself. Basically, we need to start loving ourselves and honoring ourselves. And when I say self-honor, some people may think that's a selfish inclination. No. If I want to be the best dedicated mother, I have to dedicate time to myself. If I want to be a caring wife, I have to care for myself. There has to be a balance.
Yes.
There has to be a balance. And it starts with self-honoring ourselves. And I find that many times it's hard for us to self-honor.
Yeah, because, and I think that will bring us into our next point, because what was some of your biggest challenges? I know challenges for me to find rest in anything is that I'm juggling so many things as a mom. I think especially as moms and women, we take on a lot of roles that people are just not aware of how much the wife or the mother actually take on.
And you're summing that all up in time. It's managing time. And I think one of my greatest struggles was managing time. Because I would see Ruth, rest confined to one day. Maybe the weekend, if I could rest this weekend, or if I could rest Sunday, or even looking forward to a trip that I'm planning for 6 months down the road. No, but rest is daily.
Yeah.
It's daily. It's finding moments, and what I mentioned are breathing spaces. And there's 5 breathing spaces in a day that we could just pause to catch our breath. Because haven't you ever felt like, I can't catch a break to catch my breath?
Yes.
Honestly, like things are hitting us even before 9 a.m. We've dealt with physical situations. The phone is ringing. We read a letter. It's an emotional upheaval. There's so much going on. And we have to learn that rest takes priority. And it's hard because I want to pause here and talk about rest, because there's a misconception about rest. People think that rest is solely taking a nap. It's sleeping. But rest is more. Rest involves our whole being. It's about our wellness. It's about wholeness, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. Those are areas in our life and in our day that we should carve out, even if it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes. For rest. Sometimes it could be longer. Sometimes it could be shorter. It could go from 3 minutes to 3 days. But who has 3 days to dedicate to, in a perfect world, hanging out on a hammock with some iced tea?
Would be nice, right?
Would be nice.
And I love that about your book, because, being mindful of actually doing daily routines of it. Finding those times to have those breathable moments. Sometimes in rough moments, I have even worked with my son about, okay, we need to take a breath. We're having some big emotions right now, and that has actually helped him. And I'll have another episode about zones of regulation and really talk about breathing work with your child, especially if they have a lot of emotional regulation. Well, as caregivers, we regulate a lot of that. And if we are not in our emotional regulation game, and finding these 5-minute breathing spaces like the book talks about definitely is helpful, because you have charged your battery. So when you do have those emotional breakdowns, then you can use some of those other strategies for the children, because they don't understand. It works better. that's how you can help them come out of some of those meltdowns that they are experiencing because you are staying calm, because you have charged your battery.
Right. Because then there's going to be moments when both of you are going to be breaking down at the same time because we're trying to self-regulate them, regulate ourselves. It's ongoing.
Mm-hmm. It is ongoing, and sometimes it's very hard to do that, especially in the moment. And this is why it's important to have your battery charged, because you have to be able to pull out your resources.
You have to, because even though we may not be thinking of it, like I said at the beginning, strength is being pulled from us daily. Strength when we have to make decisions, strength when we have to keep going, when we have to wake up. So many things so we need to have a toolbox full of strategies and practical tips that we can incorporate daily. And the good thing about rest is that it's just as unique as your identity.
Yep.
Because the way I like to rest may not be the way that you rest. My brother likes to rest in the middle of Lake Michigan fishing. That would stress me out. I like to rest just even reading a book or taking 5 minutes to try to discover something new in the backyard. A lot of the ways that we rest are so linked to our passions and our interests that replenish and renew us. I like to journal. That calms me. I like to read. That calms me. My sister likes to crochet. That will stress me. So the way that we rest, it's so linked to our personality as well. That's why, haven't you ever got wrapped up in an activity that you said, oh my gosh, it's 10 o'clock. I've been doing this for 3 hours.
Yeah. All the time, because it's your passion. That what, your mind's not thinking about things. You're not having to make decisions, and that does help you recharge.
Yes.
So, and even if you don't have time to do that, in the beginning, I really didn't have time to do that, but I would take time to just breathe, do the breathing exercises, because getting the breath in, just go outside for 5 minutes, get in some fresh air, change your perspective, and go back to what you need to do. It does make a difference. It refreshes you enough to let you carry on.
Absolutely. And Ruth, you mentioned breathing. To breathe, that is the premise of rest. It's to breathe. And what do we do when we breathe? We inhale. We take in oxygen. We take in the good, what benefits us. And then what do? We release. We let go of what we don't need.
Yes.
And when we take moments in our day to breathe, and we could do that with a breathing exercise, and we could do it right now, right there. You could just focus on a frame that you have, a square, and you could breathe in for 4 seconds. Hold it for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. And sit for 4 seconds. And that's a technique of breathing. And it helps to self-regulate us. And what I do sometimes, all I say is, I breathe in and I hold it and I say, Jesus, help me. And what I do also is I focus on the area that I need the strength, because sometimes I just say, I inhale peace and I exhale anxiety. I inhale strength and I exhale stress. And because I'm focusing on what I need at the moment.
Yes. I love that. I love those breathing techniques, and they've helped me too. But sometimes breathing's not about breathing. Sometimes breathing is about, you need a little space.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're talking about, things that recharge you. Like, Linda likes to read books. I sometimes like to I call it veg out. I like to go and just watch a TV show. And it has to be an old TV show. I don't know why. But it has to be like, I know I'm going to date myself here, but I love Frasier. I love Frasier. So I have to go watch a Frasier episode, and I don't know. I just like my brain can turn off, and that's me breathing sometimes.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be long. It could even be just 20 minutes with Frasier.
Yeah.
Is the friendly advice that you need.
Yeah. They're so funny. I don't know why it's Frasier. Just I was a weird kid. I really loved Frasier growing up.
And since we're talking about breathing, not necessarily what we do unconsciously, we need to get to that point as well, that it's automatic. We're not calling our friend and say, hey, I'm breathing.
Yeah.
We're not doing that because it's natural. It's something that we don't even think about.
Right.
But breathing spaces, what does that mean? Okay, as a school teacher, as a wife, a mom, I would get up and the day was on. Like I was getting up, I would have to bathe myself, bathe my daughter, make breakfast, feed her, make sure that I had taken the dog out. Okay, it's time to get in the car, pack everything. And I was off to school and hustling and doing and fretting and running and stressing. And then I would book an appointment. I would get out working at 3:15 and I have booked a 3:30 doctor's appointment. Where's the breathing space? I didn't allow myself to breathe. And then I'm stressed out because you took the spot that I was supposed to park in. And oh my gosh. And I'm running and of course, so they're checking my blood pressure. Of course.
It's high.
It's high. Always high. And then guess what? I would leave the doctor to then run to the grocery store to go home, and prepare a meal. And then by the time it was 9 o'clock, I was exhausted because I didn't allow myself 5 minutes at least in between. And then if I went to, let's say, the doctor's appointment, I'm sitting there scrolling on the phone. No, 5 minutes that I could just be people watching, or I could close my eyes. I could disconnect. The breathing space is a time in your day just to disconnect. And in the area that you need to be replenished.
Yes.
You may need to disconnect physically. Just put your feet up.
Yeah.
It may be mentally. It could be a walk outside. I love to do what I call an all walk.
Yes.
Where I just walk to see what I'm in awe of. And when you're so mindful, looking for things that are different, you're not thinking about what's waiting for you.
Exactly.
The next thing on your to-do list. So the area that you're depleted is the area you need to replenish. And sometimes it's physical. It could be mental, it could be emotional, but sometimes I need to be with my sister. Like I need some good girl time. Like let's just renew our strength. Let's just go and get some ice cream.
Yes.
But sometimes my spirits need to be uplifted too.
Yes.
And we just need to know what area do we need to catch our breath.
And I think, your book does a very good job of laying that out. Like what area? It's not only about your physical, it's about your emotional, it's about your mental, it's about your spiritual, drainage, because there's more than one facet when it comes to our batteries. So, knowing where you need that recharging.
Absolutely. And when I wrote the book, I wrote it thinking about rest. What is rest? R, recognize its importance.
Yes.
E, encourage it. S, seek to be strengthened. And T, take time daily. Because it's so important to have pockets in our day that we can just take a break.
Yeah.
For our strength.
Brenda, what was the biggest challenge when writing or, going through your own, rest quest?
My biggest challenge, and still today, my biggest challenge is dealing with guilt.
Okay.
I think that's just something that has been ingrained in me. And I don't know if I picked it up at home or through society. Just moments that I felt guilty. Maybe it's because some people feel that rest is lazy or they equate it with not being productive. When I was taking moments to back away, that I need to renew my strength, I need to replenish my emotions, I felt that guilt come in.
Yeah.
I felt like, you're sitting here, you should be. And then my mind, I would be sitting there resting, but my mind would keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would feel okay because, okay, at least here I'm resting my body, I'm sitting down, I'm relaxing, but I'm still doing because I'm still thinking about what's next.
Yeah. You're not
Yeah,
really.
right. And then I think that's a daily struggle because it's, where does that come from? Where does that message internalize in us? Where,
Sometimes you feel it in your gut. Sometimes it can cause you to have a headache. There's a method I use to make them be quiet. I call them, I'm like, I had to learn that because it can be very stressful just hearing that. It's like sabotage to yourself, and it doesn't help you when you're trying to relax. I sometimes will like focus on like a dot across the room, or if I like candles, I like to have candles lit. So, and was always like, I like a little bit of a pyro. I like to play with flames and like mess with it. So I would like watch the flame as it would flicker. And every time I would get a thought while I was trying to relax, I would say, thank you, go away, go away. I would say, thank you for the thought and tell it to go away. And if it just kept coming back, I would just like keep looking at my dot across the room, or I would look at my candle, because I wanted my mind to be quiet. I needed it to be quiet, and I was trying to train it, and it does help. Those techniques do help, and I found that about focusing, learning how to focus your mind, because my mind goes constantly. And I think a lot of people, like especially moms, I think our minds run constantly because we have a lot on our plates. But trying to focus that and quiet your mind sometimes I think helps.
quiet your mind and remind yourself that when guilt comes in and you're resting, we're not resting because we're indulging in it.
Right.
It's not indulgence, it's abundance.
Yes.
And when I started to remember, and I still remind myself, when I rest and I feel that guilt coming in, like, you should do this, I remind myself that when I rest, I'm getting stronger. And not only am I getting stronger for myself, I'm getting stronger for my loved one.
Yes. Well, think about it. I think sometimes it's not just sabotaging thoughts. It's probably, um, the enemy always trying to sabotage us too, not trying to take our rest away while we're trying to recharge. Because if we're not charged, we're not beneficial. And if we are charged, we are beneficial.
And it goes into renewing our mind.
We've covered a lot, and I want Linda to go over like a little bit of a summary of her book because, we've talked a little bit about it now and like how she, came up with it. But I think you guys would really like to have maybe a little inside scoop.
Well, I shared in the book, as I mentioned before, my journey as a mom with a daughter with special needs. I share an insight how my life changed from the moment she was born, and how I wish back then I had done things differently to preserve my strength. So I divided the book into 4 parts because rest has 4 letters, obviously. So I take the reader on this journey with me, but I'm also providing the reader with some practical and compassionate tools to lead them on their own quest for rest, for their own daily renewal. I don't pretend to be an expert in solving life's problems and life situations. I'm just trying to get through it day by day, seeking peace and strength. So I urge the reader to understand what rest was created for, what rest truly is, and what it means to be on a quest. It's a path for daily renewal, to be renewed, refreshed, and revitalized for life. And I break down each section in 5 areas that are crucial for our daily renewal, which is physical. Many people think physical is just sleeping. That's part of it, but it's also nourishing your body, taking care of your body, doing things that will help you with endurance. Then there's the mental aspect of it all, because our mind, do you know that we make at least 30,000 decisions in a day?
That's so big.
And when we're overwhelmed, it's hard even to know what you're going to order in the drive-thru.
Yeah.
Because there's decisions fatigue and we become overwhelmed. And I share with the reader about our emotions take a hit. Not only ours, we're dealing with our emotions. And sometimes we don't even realize that things are triggering us because we're trying to deal with a situation over here. So we're just pushing down our own emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Then I speak on social rest. There's people that you could get around and they're going to replenish your strength and they're going to help you to breathe, to catch your breath. But then there's some situations that we're going to have to learn to even avoid or not be part of. That mean, no, I can't attend. And I share with the reader even some go-to strategies or statements or things that you could personalize for your situation. And then how do we feel your spirit? Your soul space, connect with God, connect with a power that we can't do without ourselves. And what I do also is there's pages in there that I ask just some critical questions that we could answer. And I just share practical tips. The one thing about my book, it's about rest.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be filled with a lot of research because honestly, we're trying to find rest. And so you can pick up my book at any page and hopefully you'll find a tip that's going to set you on your path for daily renewal. One of strength, one of sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
Because sustainability is to take us not about today, it's for tomorrow and the days to come.
Okay.
Its sustainability is about the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of your life, because that's what we need to think about. We have a purpose. We have many things that we are called to do. And the mere fact that we are caregivers or we have a child with special needs hasn't canceled out the call of God on our life.
That's right.
There's things that we still have yet to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was a caregiver and I felt that dream in me to write a book and I did that. And there's so many things, but when we're exhausted and worn out, we're like, can somebody just help a sister out?
It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I like the point that you brought up just a moment ago about, learning to set those boundaries because sometimes, we feel like we have to say yes to everything, right?
And I think the first boundary we need to set is with ourselves because sometimes we do push ourselves beyond our own limit and we need to say, I could only get to this point today and that's okay.
Yes.
And once we start self-honoring ourselves, it's going to be easier to set boundaries with others. And it could just start by simple go-to statements. I would love to, but I'm at capacity today.
Yes, I like that.
Sometimes we're afraid to use the word no, but when we say no, we're saying yes to our strength, to our renewal, to our loved one as well.
Yes.
So boundaries don't have to be anything negative.
Yeah.
Boundaries are meant to protect.
Yes.
To keep in what we need and keep out what's not going to benefit us.
Yes.
So boundaries could start with simple statements. They could be a little assertive, but they're firm enough to not offend,
Exactly.
but to defend.
Right. Because some people get offended by the word no, like, oh, no, I can't do that, and then just say I'm at capacity. That's, better than saying no. But also, as you get older too, you're going to understand sometimes no doesn't mean no. No means not right now.
Absolutely.
So, understanding that too, maybe somebody is at their capacity and they're just short-circuiting and they're like, no, I can't do that today. Well, that doesn't mean that they couldn't do it another day. And don't ask them in that moment. That's not the point that I'm trying to make either.
Right.
But, expect that boundary that they place for them, but also remind yourself, you're at capacity sometimes and know, that's just another way to say no. I think community, having that and asking for help, I think is very crucial. That's why caregivers, I'm creating this community, having the podcast. You're not alone on this journey, and the group that I have, creating those communities are helpful. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. We're not created to walk through life alone. We need a core group. We need a support system.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be as simple as your go-to friend. It could be a friend, a family member, which I like to call my breathe friend, my breathe family member. They're the ones that maybe through their words will tell you, you need to take some time to breathe. Or just maybe through their actions.
Yeah.
By inviting you for a cup of coffee or a good phone call, encouraging you in one way or another. We need a support system. Sometimes it could be being part of a connect group, a special interest group, going to church, being part of people that get you. Because as a parent with a child with special needs, not everybody gets you.
Yeah.
Like, honestly. And there's a certain sense of rest that comes when you feel safe.
Yes.
When I'm safe to share my story and not be judged, and I could come to you and say, Ruth, oh, did I have a day today? I did, Lord, help me. And you get me?
Mm-hmm.
That brings a sense of rest because I don't have to try to
You don't have to put your walls up.
Absolutely.
You don't have to have your walls up. You can be yourself, and they understand your struggle.
Yeah.
They understand that this is our life.
Yes.
This is what we're going through right now.
I love that. They understand your struggle. And when people understand your struggle, it brings rest. It brings strength.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because we are our community. We understand what's going on. We understand the challenges, the fights, the day-to-day that we actually go through. Whether it's advocating, whether it's being a caregiver, whether it's trying to find peace within ourselves, the rest, the opportunity to rest, it is a daily challenge for us to do.
Right, because we're advocating, but it's not solely about our child or the person, we're trying to hold on to this relationship, or we're trying to hold on to this job. I'm trying to just make it to
next week
safely.
Or sometimes the next day.
Absolutely. And community is so important, even if it means to talk to a therapist, somebody
Mm-hmm.
professional, a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with sharing. I think that's because when we release those emotions, those feelings, those thoughts, we make room for greater things to come and invade us in our spirit. And I just pray that you would find someone that you could breathe, that you can share, and you can share the struggle. Because a lot of people, we look on social media, everybody's sharing their joys, and that's awesome. But we need to share our struggles because we become stronger together. And community is so important, a like community, a community that gets you.
Yes. And I totally agree with that. So I just want to highlight, some common misconceptions about rest and caregiving. Rest is just being lazy, and the reality as intentional is for rest. And Linda said earlier, we have to rest. Saying you don't have the time, why prioritizing rest is actually increasing or decreasing your productivity, is actually helping you with your patience. It's recharging your battery, like we stated. If I, step back, I'm failing. No, you're not failing. Get out of survivor mode. It's not sustainable. Well, it's like we have been talking about. It's not sustainable to be like that. Carrying some of those misconceptions, what do you think about some of those misconceptions? And I know we talked a few of them.
They missed it. Those misconceptions missed it. Because honestly, rest takes a bad rap.
Mm-hmm.
You say, I'm going to get some rest. I'm all about rest. I like to create conversations around rest. Mm-hmm. I will ask, how are you going to rest this weekend? Many people are like, that throws them off. Why? Because there's some misconception of rest, like you mentioned, being lazy or laziness. Rest is not laziness. It's a lifeline.
Yes.
It's what's going to help us. It's going to sustain us. It's going to help us endure those moments that physically we can't even get out of bed. Mentally, we do not have the reserve to make another decision. Emotionally, we're drained. and we need to be replenished. So I think those misconceptions, they're based on society. Like sometimes we go to the mall and we see the husband and he's sleeping while the wife is shopping, and we like, kudos to you. That's how you do it. We need to praise that. Because I know it's all about that's the grind and the hustle and do more and obtain more. But do you know that when you rest, you become more productive? In that moment of stillness, you get clarity of thought. You can make a game-changing decision or choice. Mm-hmm. How many choices have we made that we know we were just tired, that the outcome wasn't the one we wanted or needed, but we made it. It was a rash decision because we were just tired. We didn't have the correct focus. Mm-hmm. So the misconceptions missed it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I am so glad that I had the opportunity to meet Linda, first of all, and get to know her and go to her caregiver groups. And then I didn't know at the time that it was a book the first time we met. And then I got the book and I read it because it has given me practical strategies. I'm always into meditation and having the prayer time, in my daily life. But the book was definitely more structured, and it took more of an approach to give you, like I said, about the physical, this mental, the emotional, spiritual, all in one, and actually giving it an aspect of the rest, so it really does give that self-care renewal for the caregiver. The book leads you through that. And so that's a testimonial that I would like to give to Linda for her book, because that is what it gave me.
And that's what rest does. Rest connects us. Yes. Rest allows us to be part of something greater. Mm-hmm. And that's what Rest Quest is about, a path to daily renewal, of living a life full of opportunity, full of connections, full of such great things. We met because of rest.
Yes. Yeah, that's how we met.
That's how we met, because of rest.
And I was seeking rest. I was seeking more, and that's how I found her, the group. And I was wanting more, and I wanted to learn more. So that's how I ended up meeting Linda. And I'm grateful that I did. I, met another sister, mm-hmm. And I absolutely just love that. So Linda, how can people, get in contact with you, our listeners? How can they, claim their rest? Where can they start?
They can start by following me on Facebook and Instagram at My Rest Quest. Because it's your quest for rest. Oh. It's individual, it's unique. I share some practical tips, but you make it the way it works for you, for your situation, for your life. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram, My Rest Quest. And you can also find me at myrestquest.com.
Okay.
And my book is on Amazon.
Okay.
Under Rest Quest.
And I will have all of this in the show notes below, so you guys can have her link to Instagram and Facebook, and the link to the book as well. And then the website as well, too. Do you have any encouragement for the listeners, such as like when they're feeling overwhelmed?
When you're feeling overwhelmed, overworked, overloaded, no, you're doing the best. You're handling some things that others couldn't possibly even imagine. You're always on the go, always on call. You're doing the best. You are a person full of strength, of resources, of determination. You're strong and valuable. And I thank you for listening. I thank you for doing what you're doing, because what you're doing is out of love. Yes. And the greatest of these is love. And love covers a multitude of sin. It covers a lot, and it strengthens you. So thank you for the inner strength that you already are showing.
Yeah. That's well said. Thank you, Linda, so much for being on the podcast today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yes, yes.
And you all enjoy the rest of your day.
Wow. That was an incredible conversation. I know so many of you needed to hear that today. A huge thank you goes out to you, Linda.
Thank you for having me.
For sharing such powerful insights and reminding that rest isn't a luxury, it's necessary. If today's episode resonated with you, encourage and check out Linda's book on Rest Quest. You can find it on Amazon. I will have the links below. And if you're loving these conversations, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. If you found value in today's discussion, share it with a friend or leave a review. It helps us reach even more parents and caregivers who need support. Remember, taking care of yourself isn't about you. It's allowing you to show up even stronger for those that depend on you. Until next time, take a deep breath, give yourself some grace, and keep it moving forward on your journey.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Today's episode is brought to you by Legal Shield. Because peace of mind starts with being prepared. As a parent and an advocate, I know how important it is to have access to legal support, especially when navigating the challenges of autism advocacy. With Legal Shield, you'll have 24/7 access to a dependable network of attorneys for advice on every IEP meeting and school accommodation to understand your rights as a caregiver. Also, those transitional times for guardianship and other legal matters, such as trust, wills, and other things. It is affordable and easy to use and designed to give you the tools needed to confidently face life legal challenges. Whether you are dealing with contracts, legal documents, or simply just need advice, Legal Shield is here to help. Protect your family, advocate for your loved ones, handle life's curveballs with confidence. Visit the link in the show notes below to learn more how to sign up today. Legal Shield empowers families, one step at a time. Thank you for tuning in to Finding Your Identity in Your Autism Journey. I hope today's episode inspired you, brought you some clarity, or simply reminding that you are not alone. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and if you enjoyed this conversation, leave a review and share it with someone who might need it. Until next time, remember, your story matters, your voice matters, and together we can navigate this journey one step at a time.